Welcome to The Explainer. We talk a ton about buying, selling, and holding digital assets, right? But what exactly are you holding? Today, we're going to unravel a foundational mystery of the cryptocurrency world, how Bitcoin Cash ownership actually works behind the scenes. We'll break down the complete anatomy of digital ownership, and by the end of this, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of the keys, addresses, and wallets that power the whole shebang. Let's jump right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the road of ownership, look at how keys come in pairs, explore addresses as your public face, see how wallets manage your keys, and wrap up with advanced security and storage. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The root of ownership.
To really understand this, we've got to shatter a very common illusion right out of the gate. If you've spent any time in the digital asset space, you've definitely heard this famous maxim: not your keys, not your coins. I want to emphasize this right away because it establishes the absolute highest stakes of this entire explainer. Ownership in Bitcoin Cash isn't like having an account at a central bank. It is established entirely through digital keys. If someone else holds your keys, say a centralized exchange, well, they hold your coins. So here's the crucial takeaway. Your wallet contains keys, not coins. We naturally picture a leather bifold stuffed with physical cash. But in reality, there are no coins physically sitting inside your phone. The actual coins, they live permanently on the public blockchain as unspent transaction outputs, or UTXOs. Your wallet software is simply a highly secure digital keychain holding the secret math required to produce a valid signature. Without that signature, those coins aren't moving anywhere. All right, Section 2, keys come in pairs. Let's look at how these critical keys actually function. The most important thing to know is that they never fly solo. They always come in pairs. Think of it like traditional banking. Your public key is basically your bank account number. It's perfectly safe and actually necessary to share it so you can receive funds. Your private key, on the other hand, is your secret ATM PIN, or the authorized signature on a physical check. That's what actually controls the account and signs the transactions to spend your Bitcoin Cash. Now, where do these keys even come from? Bitcoin Cash uses elliptic curve cryptography, specifically a mathematical curve known as SecP 256K1. Your private key is, at its core, just a massive, randomly generated 256-bit number. Honestly, good luck trying to memorize that. Through a pretty intense mathematical operation on this curve, that private key calculates your public key. What's absolutely fascinating is that public keys used to take up 65 bytes uncompressed, but now we use compressed keys that are just 33 bytes. It's the default today, and it brilliantly saves precious space on the blockchain. Check this out. This really illustrates the whole flow. See the lowercase k? That is your private key. Through elliptic curve multiplication, it generates the uppercase k, your public key. Then a hashing function turns that into A, your Bitcoin address. But pay attention to those big red restriction symbols on the bottom arrows. This is the absolute magic of cryptography right here. These operations are strictly one way. You cannot reverse the math to find a public key from an address, and there is zero chance you can deduce a private key from a public one. Moving on to Section 3. Addresses, your public face. So a Bitcoin Cash address isn't exactly the same thing as a public key. To create the address you actually copy and paste to your friends, your public key goes through a really clever double hash process. First, it runs through a SHA-256 algorithm, and then immediately through RIP-MD160. That outputs a 20-byte hash, which gets encoded to become the final, recognizable Bitcoin address you're used to seeing on your screen. These days, the industry standard for Bitcoin Cash is the modern cash address format. You'll spot them instantly because they always start with a Q or a P, and sometimes include that Bitcoin Cash prefix. Why did the network evolve to this? Built-in check farms. If you accidentally mistype a single character, your wallet catches the error before you permanently send your funds into the void. Older legacy addresses starting with a 1 or 3 technically still work, sure, but you should always stick to the modern cash address format to avoid any costly, heart-stopping typos. All right, Section 4, wallets, managing your keys. Since dealing with massive random numbers manually is literally impossible for us humans, we use wallet software to manage these keys. And wow, has this tech evolved. On one hand, you have the earliest type, a non-deterministic wallet, playfully nicknamed just a bunch of keys, or JBOK. It generated totally independent keys, meaning you had to back up every single one manually. It was chaotic and super risky. On the other hand, we have the modern solution, a hierarchical deterministic, or HD wallet. It organizes your keys into a beautiful branching tree structure, where every single key originates from just one single master seed. The advantages of this HD standard are massive. First off, because every key stems from the master seed, you only ever need to make one backup, just once. Second, the branches allow for incredible organization. You can have one branch for receiving, one for change, or even separate branches for different business departments. It even allows for public key-only operations. That means an e-commerce server can securely generate fresh receiving addresses on the fly without ever holding your highly sensitive private keys online. It's a total game changer. So how does that master tree actually sprout? Well, it builds from a simple backup. A cryptographically secure generator creates a root seed. To make this readable for us, it's presented as mnemonic code words. Those words are fed into a one-way hash function, HMAC SHA-512, which spits out a massive 512-bit string. That string is then split right down the middle to create your master private key and your master chain code. This right here is the very top of your HD wallet tree. Because absolutely all of your keys are derived from those words, securing your seed phrase is the single most important task you have. When you create a wallet, you'll get 12 to 24 English words. Write them down on actual, physical paper, not a napkin that might accidentally go in the wash. Store it safely offline, never share it, never type it into an unencrypted digital document, and please, whatever you do, do not take a photo of it with your smartphone. Anyone who holds those words can recreate your entire tree of keys and instantly take your funds. Which brings us to Section 5, Advanced Security and Storage. When we look at protecting high-value digital assets, one of the most powerful tools out there is multi-signature, or multi-sig. This is an arrangement requiring multiple signatures to spend funds, typically structured as an M of N setup. For example, a 2 of 3 setup requires 2 out of 3 authorized keys to sign a transaction. This is brilliant for complex escrow agreements between a buyer, seller, and arbitrator, or for corporate accounts where you want 2 executives to approve a transaction. By demanding multiple keys, multi-sig entirely eliminates the risk of a single point of failure. For long-term holdings, the absolute ultimate defense is cold storage. Simply put, cold storage means keeping your private keys entirely offline, completely disconnected from the internet. By doing this, you are effectively immune to network hackers, digital malware, and keyboard loggers. The keys literally do not exist on a device that could be compromised remotely. It doesn't get safer than that. And this brings us to a very tangible example, the traditional paper wallet. This is cold storage in its purest physical form. It's just a piece of paper displaying a Bitcoin Cash address to share on one side and the highly secret private key on the other. You can print this out and lock it in a fireproof safe. The funds are perfectly secure on the blockchain, and the only way to spend them is for someone to physically break into your safe and scan that private QR code. You treat this piece of paper exactly like a fat stack of cash. So, to summarize our journey through the anatomy of digital ownership, burn these golden rules into your memory. Number 1, never share your private keys or your seed phrase with anyone. Number 2, always back up your seed phrase on a physical medium offline. And number 3, to protect your financial privacy, take full advantage of your HD wallet by using a fresh, newly generated address for each and every payment you receive. We've covered a lot in this explainer, but I want to leave you with a direct question to ask yourself today. Are your digital keys truly under your control? And is your seed phrase safely offline right now? Remember, not your keys, not your coins. Take a little time today to audit your own security setup and ensure your digital ownership is genuinely absolute. Thanks for learning with me today.